Hello.
Yay!
The room looks bigger. All right. Anyway, so like John said, this is from a book. It's my first book, and it comes out next year, which I'm very excited about. And I guess you really don't have to know much of anything, except this particular scene's about a guy who lives in California now, on his way back to Queens, New York, to see his dad. That's, I think, all you need to know. And if I'm not loud enough, because I mumble sometimes. So the cabbie, he tore through a dead red light, and he took off in the expressway. He was away from the airport. We were heading for Richmond Hill. He was laughing, fast talking into his earplug phone. Now the sky outside was a cool blue David Hockney pool. But inside, the vinyl seat was burning right through my pants, so I lowered the window. I'm guessing his language was Arabic. The ID card in the back of his seat, it read, Abdullah. He let loose this howling and happy laugh. He sees me in his mirror, throws me a smiling nod, points at his phone like, look at me, this guy is killing me. So we joined the traffic flow. The whirl of outside, the noise, the car horns, the sirens, the screech, and relentless machine din of city washed over the car like a wave. Everything sounded the same. The car was dropping and bouncing in jolts. There were potholes and swellings all along the Grand Central Parkway. There was this roaring whoosh as a plane zeppelin right overhead. I was ecstatic to be free of the airplane. The stale, dry air, the small, soiled hallways of LaGuardia, those sad plastic baggage carousels. We rolled on solid ground beside the bay. I never liked flying, but I liked the world seen from way up there. The incoming skyline, the blunt slant of the Citigroup Center, the sterling hubcaps and the skyscraping needle of the Chrysler Building. I liked the shipwreck hulk of the 59th Street Bridge and the concrete sprawl of Queens spreading out from the East River like an elaborate gunmetal carpet. I don't like the turbulence. I don't like the need for airsick bags. I don't like the horror of hollow space between me and what's below, and that some 500 people die in plane crashes every single year. I know because I checked before leaving. The odds are maybe not especially good, but they're actually quite good if it's your plane. You spiral and explode in the oily Hudson. Manhattan is an island surrounded by water. People forget this. A sewer stink of sulfur wafted in through the window from the bay. Abdullah shouts out, "What a smell!" And then he's back to his conversation. I was amazed by his fluid traversal between these two languages. I waited for him to pause. I leaned forward. "You speaking Arabic?" He says into his earpiece, "Wait a second, what, you speak Arabic?" I said, "I'm just wondering." Because many of the businessmen, they speak Arabic. He lowered his window, he slams his hand against the car door and yells out, "Move, you fucker!" It was Friday. It was nearly dusk. I'd been here a few minutes, but I found the city immediately overwhelming. Sunlight was flashing between buildings, as if some westward and stream-bursting ambulance was keeping an exact parallel pace. There must have been a day, one specific day long ago, when I first looked up at the sun. I said, "What is that exactly?" Abdullah laughs out, "The traffic is starting, what can I do?" I shrugged my shoulders. He said, "Where are you coming from?" I said, "California, I moved there, but I'm from here." I was back, of course, to see my dad. Sarah, the lovely ex-wife, she told me he was sick. He sounded strange, something seemed wrong. She always exaggerated. I called him and he eventually relented. He was fine, just more tired than usual. He missed Mom. She was gone. But there was something about his voice. Abdullah shouted out, "California girls!" A medium-sized bread truck blares its horn alongside us and just slows about a car length ahead. Shot puts forward, just missing a motorcycle. "He has no patience," Abdullah says. He's slapping his car door. "You're going to kill somebody." Should I say in the expressway? It's too much traffic. Flushing Meadow Park. It was under the overpass, and I saw the grassy lakes, the rusting sci-fi ruins of the World's Fair. That version of the future dated pretty badly, except for maybe the Unisphere. I like it very much. It's a hollow steel globe, tall as a 10-story building. Abdullah and I were emigrants flying through the Milky Way. Our cab, a slow yellow rocket. The Earth was out there lonesome, spinning still in the distance. I hadn't been back to see Dad since Mom died. I felt terrible. No way I was letting this man get sick, if he was sick. It also seemed my one and only chance for redemption. Or maybe I say redemption for all of us, the whole family, because I was sure Dad was praying, still praying for my late homecoming. He never thought I would make it in California. I would finally answer his prayers. And also because if there really was a heaven, but I couldn't ever really take that idea seriously, if there was, Mom was looking down. This would make her very happy. I'll also admit, I used to think I was born with something of a special purpose, and I never really fully sloughed that off. I sat there in the cab entertaining these fantastical thoughts of me swooping in just in time. I would save my father. This is the shitty part, Abdullah said. It used to be beautiful. You should see it Sunday mornings, all the garbage just everywhere. I should stay in traffic or go to Queens Boulevard. I said, this park used to be kind of a scary place, actually. It's safe now. It is filthy, but it is safe. There was a game of soccer underway. Sub-bass music, shaking the back ends of these SUVs in the parking lot. I said, you know what? Take me to Forest Park. I was not in such a hurry after all, it turns out. Abdullah nods. I saw his rusty, rotting teeth in the mirror. He said, they're trying to make this place beautiful again. Spanish families come every weekend. It's beautiful. Music is so loud, the trees dance. And he laughs into his phone, puts something in his mouth, and he chews. I said, I want to drive through Forest Park for a little bit. Then we go to Richmond. The house was waiting, Dad was waiting, they weren't going anywhere. The cab dipped low, took to an off-ramp. I look at Abdullah, he puts another piece in his mouth. I said, what are you eating? Why, you want some? It's betel nut. You chew the leaves, you chew the nut. I frowned, making a face like I have no idea what you're talking about. You chew it. What, I have a passenger. What do you mean? Who did? And he punches at his steering wheel. We trade glances again in the mirror. He points at me. What did I tell you about this guy? A chatter blast of horns screams out. Now he's digging through a plastic bag in the passenger seat beside him. He reaches back through the opening in the clear plastic pay box. He hands me a small leather pouch. Take it. It gives you a zing. The leaves were semi-tough, like wet bay leaves. The nut slices looked very peppery. I handed him back the pouch. I said, it tastes weird. It was like the tough skin of a new fruit, and the sensation was bitter, but pleasant, but very bitter. My tongue tingled. I looked up, I caught his face. He nodded, he's grinning. He's saying, you keep chewing. Ahead of us is Queens Boulevard. There are 6 wide lanes on Queens Boulevard. 6 lanes of stretched limos, smoke-belching buses, racing past strip joints, pool halls, shopping malls, nightclubs. My first girlfriend. I thought of my first girlfriend from way back in high school. Her name was Banu. We went to a nearby school the size of a Texas prison. We cut classes, we hid in the stairwells. I remembered her. Us running from the security office in Queens Center Mall. A few blocks away, how we one time found ourselves in the rug department at Macy's, the very top floor. We pushed the rolling stairs between the itchy hanging carpets. We sat there for hours, totally undetected, in the dark. Rug dander in the air. And we talked and pretended this was exactly where we wanted to be. I stopped sneezing by putting hands in front of my mouth. She stopped laughing by putting hands in front of her mouth. It was all very sweet, like something out of a lesser John Hughes movie. We even etched the letters OMD into the wall behind the rugs and debated, what did these letters stand for? Abdullah drove us by a hospital, by an old folks' home for the near dead. The traffic here was infamous. The street way too wide. It was often called the Boulevard of Death. I gave him a thumbs up. The betel nut was bitter. There was a pleasant tongue buzz. The tires were bouncing. They were bouncing. I was actually getting high, I realized, which was ridiculous. I was headed for home. Had my father gotten high in his life before I was born? What a thought is that? The world is alive before we get here. The blacktop was whisking by under my outstretched arm. I thought for some reason of how I'd recently heard of these Buddhist monks. They could literally focus all their energy, their blood flow, their brain waves on any ailing organ of the body. Harness and direct every cerebral effort. I saw it on National Geographic. I love this channel. Volcano documentaries, earthquake specials, end of the world scenarios, survivalist shows. The idea of the monks, it stayed with me, attracted me. I wanted control like this, can you imagine? They could slow their heart rates just short of death, but who wants to get so close now that I think about it? I mean, who did these monks think they were? Lounging in their fancy saffron-colored robes. I mean, it's not like they were romantic figures for me. They were not. I would never be comfortable in all that swaddling. Too much freedom. But I was becoming interested in what they did on the inside. All that off spark, this like lightning dancing around in their skull-capped Tesla coils. How did they do it? The ex-wife always said you should be very wary of questions like this. They can be dangerous. She said those stories you hear of pilgrims that climb mountains in search of bearded gurus, these are about the lucky ones who make it back, alive. The ones who saunter into town, hair mussed, unshaven, sexy, robe soiled. They spend the remainder of their lazy days pondering the answer to their one very special question. But what about the ones who never make it back? The ones who fall, the ones who slip and break legs and die from starvation at the bottom of a gorge? What about the ones who die on the way back down, left to rot in the hard, slanting rock? What about them? She was dramatic sometimes. I started recognizing the old neighborhoods, a corner Tiamo convenience store where I used to play video games, where I tried stealing peeks at the girly magazines. We were very close. It's good, right? Abdullah is looking at me now. He's pointing at his mouth in the mirror. The feeling? I said, what? It will never come again, he said. Never. Your head knows what it tastes like now. We turned off the boulevard. We took to the hilly asphalt inroads of Forest Park. Just drive, I said, please. Is that okay? Don't worry about the meter. I have money. Just drive. He said, everything is on the way to everything. The green leaves and the high bush of Forest Park were everywhere. Thousands and thousands of trees among the poor and sway of concrete and blacktop surrounded by the pigeon-shitted rooftops of Queens. 500 acres of wood thickets and wilds in the middle of the New York City suburbs. There were rumors when I was a kid of families having picnics, going for long walks and vanishing forever among the towering oaks. Talk of a child killer living in a dried-up steam bed, a lean-to in the sand. The taxi carriage floated some, descended a large hill, and my heart did this light bird flutter. I thought of my ex-wife. I wondered where she was. What was she having for lunch? I used to do all the cooking. I was heartbroken to find out she was apparently eating just fine without me. I saw Abdullah's eyes in the mirror. We smiled. My arm was jutting through the open window. An upswell of cool air broke on my skin. It smacked at my face and felt so good. I stuck my head out the window and into the wind.